previews for Donkey Kong Bananza are now live, and like always, what I do is I gather all the previews for you guys, and I pretty much watch them all and give you guys a quick summary of each one, and also just combine what the general consensus is for the game that's being previewed. And of course, today is Donkey Kong Bananza. We are just about 3 weeks away into the launch of the game, so what are people saying? What are the critics saying that we're actually able to play this game so far and get their hands on some awesome new footage for us to look at as well? Well, stay tuned to find out. Of course, before we get started, if you guys enjoy the updates on Donkey Kong Bananza, it does so much to have you guys just leave a like and subscribe. You guys just don't know how much that helps the channel, so please, let's see how many people we can get to like and subscribe this one video. But without further ado, let's jump into the previews of Donkey Kong Bananza. Nintendo Life straight up thought it was an absolutely amazing platformer, and that this just felt like the follow-up to Super Mario Odyssey. And of course, if you guys have not heard yet, Donkey Kong Bananza is in fact made by the Odyssey team. It's now been officially confirmed, but did we even need it to be? I mean, literally, if you just watched anything with this game, its DNA is spread all the way throughout Donkey Kong Bananza. It feels like a Mario Odyssey sequel, a true follow-up, and Nintendo Life claims that it absolutely feels that way when you're playing it as well. Nintendo Life hardly had a single negative to say, their complaints being relatively minor. For instance, being climbing controls can get a little wonky at times when you're moving constantly is something that they noticed, and also Pauline, for a lot of people, might talk too much. She just always has something to say, but when you look at the grand scheme of all the negatives that this game could have, that's a pretty good negative list. Gamespot noticed the game had very unique boss approaches and also some really cool 2D callback levels. For instance, the one that you're watching right now on screen is a direct callback to Bramble Scramble from Donkey Kong Country 2. We knew there were 2D minecart levels in the game thanks to the direct, but now we also know thanks to Gamespot that there are 3D minecart levels. Like this one, for instance, where you'll aim and throw boom rock at different structures and objects in the background. There is apparently one giant armored enemy or even mini boss that you can fight where you'll actually just be going in circles around it, chucking boom rocks at it. So I'm not sure how you take damage, but it looks like maybe you'll just throw the boom rocks at the things that he throws at you. But still, that sounds really cool and reminds me of the giant Mecha Bowser fight from Super Mario Sunshine where you're driving around it on a roller coaster. So I'm actually really much looking forward to that one. They also praised the game for being super ambitious and massive in scope. And from what I've heard from a lot of the reviewers is the levels are more condensed, where they feel more like an average Super Mario Sunshine level compared to an average Odyssey level. But still, each level, with it being as small as a Sunshine level, is very much packed with things to do and things to find, where you'll constantly be digging for Banandium gems and finding tons of bonus rooms that actually put your skills to the test. And GameSpot just continues to reiterate that, yeah, this is definitely Super Mario Odyssey's team working at its full potential here. This just feels like the best version of Odyssey from what I've heard so far. IGN stated that each layer has a main objective. It's not just collect the Banandium gems, you'll have to help out each layer's animal community with their problems. For instance, in the lagoon layer, it seems like there's some type of water issue or water blockage and clogging from the Voidco, so it's actually your job to unclog them. It reminded me a lot of Super Mario Odyssey's Seaside Kingdom, where you had to take out the 3 or 4 corks in order to get the water flow back. Something similar to that, where you have to go around and, you know, take out the 4 plugs in order to get the water flow going back to normal. But after playing, IGN says that they were left with the mightiest of praises, and with just 3 hours, it felt like they just needed so much more. They also reiterate, while yes, this feels like the next 3D Mario, it's a perfect hold off until we wait for that next 3D Mario. For hardcore 3D Mario fans like myself, obviously, this is definitely going to be a game for us, and I cannot be more happier with what I've seen so far. And then we had Eurogamer, which technically had the most negatives, and even saying that is funny because they hardly had many negatives. It just shows you how good this game is. Eurogamer states that Pauline does talk too much as well, and that some people will either love it or definitely hate it, where it can definitely get annoying after a while. It has a skill tree, and there's actually completely new moves within this skill tree, and even for the Bananza transformations, which just add completely new moves to those transformations, which is pretty cool. So it's not just stat boosts and upgrades, it actually adds new gameplay, which is awesome. The Banandium gems are just like Odyssey's moons. for better or less. I'm not really sure. You know, they didn't go really deep into this, but it seems like obviously the Bananza gems are going to be a lot better placed than Odyssey's moons from what I've seen so far. It looks like, you know, you can see the gems sticking out the side of rock and stuff, and you actually have to work to get to them and dig them out and stuff. So maybe some of them are as easy as the Odyssey moons, but, you know, they require a little bit more Donkey Kong power in order to get to. But yeah, they didn't really, you know, dive super deep into that in the comparison with Odyssey's moons. But perhaps the one complaint that kind of scares me is something that I've been wondering, because from what I've seen so far, I definitely had this same thought. The boss battles seem to be extremely easy. Now, they didn't confirm how many they played. They've only showed gameplay of one, and that's the only gameplay that I keep seeing. It's probably one of the first bosses in the game. We've seen it multiple times in the trailer with Grumpy Kong, and he built this giant crocoid, you know, machine, giant structure enemy. It seems like it's incredibly easy. You just punch through the legs, drop it down, and beat up Grumpy Kong on top. Now, maybe this isn't like the final boss of this area. Maybe it's just like a mini boss type of thing, like the Brutals, you know? And they already remind me of the Brutals, the members of Void Kong, or Void Crew, rather, that work for Void Kong. You know, so maybe it's not like a big deal of a boss battle, and that's why it's so quick and easy, but I am a little bit worried about that, because I want the bosses to be more than just, you know, punch your way through them and then, you know, punch the weak point. There needs to be more to that. But Eurogamer says, on the other hand, the bonus rooms are very tricky and can hide tons of secret Bananza gems. Nintendo Life even mentioned in theirs that one of the Bananza gems they just could not find. I believe it was the one in the Bramble Scramble level. I'm not 100% sure, but they said one of them they just kept trying to find over and over and over again, and they just could not find it, which is super intriguing to me. It tells me that the bonus rooms are going to have lots of difficulty to them. But what do I think about these previews? And from what I've seen so far, how do I feel? Of course, I've only played like the in-store demo, which is like 15 minutes, where they were able to play 3 hours of additional levels that I wasn't able to play. But from what I've seen so far, I'm actually very excited for this game. I mean, just watching it makes me want to get my hands on it. From all the previewers, they all literally said the same thing of how it just felt like those 3 hours was like 10 minutes, that the game flies by and you're constantly going to want to dive into the game and find the Bananza gems that are hidden in each world and stuff, and how each sub-level might be small and compact, but it's full of fun things to do and find, which to me is always a good thing, a lot better than a giant empty open area, which Odyssey sometimes suffered from. So this seems like it could be the better version of Odyssey, which I already think is my favorite 3D Mario game personally. So this is a pretty big deal. I love the little secret 2D levels that reference past Donkey Kong Country games, like Bramble Scramble. There's even some minecart sections we've seen in the Direct, so I'm hoping there's a lot more referencing maybe games like Donkey Kong Country 3. Even Returns and Tropical Freeze would be really cool to get some references from, and I can't wait to see actually what they do with it. Also, Bramble Blast has a new remix, and it's amazingly faithful to the original, while also being just so good. It's so good. Just listen. Something else I really do enjoy is that with each brand new Bananza transformation, it seems like Pauline will sing a new and different song, which is pretty cool. So that's something else we can look forward to, is that there's always going to be a different song depending on the transformation. So if there's more than 3 Bananza transformations, which I'm thinking there's going to be, we could be getting a lot of songs. It reminds me a lot of the Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. how you can actually use the flutes and get new songs from each world and stuff, from all the little locomos and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what it reminds me of. Also, here's the actual gameplay. I didn't even realize I had it from Video Game Chronicle. They posted another boss battle, like I said earlier, where you're driving around on a minecart and chucking boom rocks at this giant, rock creature monster called Mad Mixer. That's causing, this giant thing to mix the lava quicker or something. I don't know. It looks really cool. It also looks incredibly simple though. Most of the complaints have been where it's like pretty easy, but I don't know. This looks really cool. This is definitely a different style for a boss battle, and I'm just excited for this game. But let me know in the comments down below how you feel from watching the previews or listening to the previews. Does this make you more excited? For some reason, less excited? But definitely let me know down below. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out. And like always, I hope you all have a blessed day, and I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.